talk about Rock Springs. Okay, artistry.
You can put it on.
Home and artistry. Okay. Thank you for listening to Rock Springs. Okay, we're gonna have to cut that out, obviously. But that branch isn't in the way, right?
I have no idea.
That didn't look like it, right?
I couldn't see.
All right. Welcome to 307 Roundtable. This is Jacob Olson, your host. Billy Clark right here, and YsonT again with us, co-starring. Today we're going to talk about Rock Springs, Wyoming, where we grew up. This is my home. This is his home. He grew up not nearby. We also want to dive a little bit deeper into artistry with YsonT and then get some words from Billy on that as well. So I guess we'll just start off. Just let us know a little bit about yourself. Give us a glimpse about, I guess the past 5 years of your life, and then maybe what the next 5 years looks like for you, and then we'll go from there.
Last 5 been getting in a little bit of trouble. Gotten a little bit of trouble. I went to county jail and got out. Decided to change my life. Went to college, dropped out a little bit. Decided it wasn't for me. Moved to Casper, worked a little bit, then moved down to Cheyenne, where I'm currently at. Came up here to see my family this week. Next 5 years, I don't know. Shit. Honestly, probably just want to start my own company, doing something. Haven't figured that out yet. I don't know. Be doing my personal training, be the first thing though. Other than that, yeah. Miss being home. Miss being around my friends and my family.
Yeah, I miss it too, bro. Yeah, it's crazy being away from home.
Yeah.
I've been away a lot too. You spent a lot of time away, but I've spent a lot of time away. I wasn't in cages the whole time, and neither were you. But a lot of my stuff was like on the streets, and so yeah, we both got some pretty. All three of us got some pretty crazy stories, pretty crazy lives, and everyone does. But just coming home, man, it makes everything so much better most times.
Right.
You know, it really does. And then just realizing who your real friends are throughout your life, throughout going through all that stuff, and then being able to come home and just see those people again, like after 5-10 years, just makes everything pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We want to dig into, man, what do you know about the history of Rock Springs?
I mean, there's a lot of history here, man. It's really a coal town. Rock Springs and Green River coal towns.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Beautiful places.
Farson and Eden, they're pretty small, but good restaurants. That's really all I know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful place. There's a lot of outdoor shit here to do. I mean, really, there's just a lot of open space, a lot to play with, you know?
Right.
Yeah, Wyoming's super slept on just coming on like the scenery outlooks in the mountains and some of the places that you wouldn't normally expect to see in Wyoming. There's actually a couple places like Spirit Lake, for example, is actually a place that has my heart, and it's what I would want to call home because it is not even 15 miles from my house. It's where I grew up, where I was raised in Wyoming for most of my life. But yeah, Spirit Lake, beautiful place. Wyoming, border of Utah. I mean, I've lived on the border of Wyoming and Utah most of my life, so kind of see like a little bit of both, best of both worlds on that end. But Wyoming definitely's got some hidden secret areas that are just so slept on, and you just gotta know the people and the locals to kind of find those areas.
Yeah, I mean, you could go on all day about what you could see here, find here. There's gold. There's
caves,
rivers and lakes everywhere. There's caves with hieroglyphs right outside of our town from thousands and thousands of years ago. There was a man murdered and dug, buried out there, and he was from California, and like there's been a few different crazy murders out here. The Rainbow Tribe, they come through here every now and again, and
weird folk.
Yeah, like the sheriff was murdered and they blamed it on them. Then you have like the Chinese massacre history right there in Witten, which was, if people don't know, for those of you listening in, the Chinese massacre was the Chinese came here and worked in our mines with us, and the whites were getting upset that they were taking all of our jobs and the money, and they killed them all. They bombed their town. They caved in the entrances of the mines and killed all these Chinese families, and that was right here in our town, just a couple hundred years ago. And then you have all the gangsters and mafia and prostitutes and strippers and the whole drug run and alcohol running under our town on K Street. You know, like mob bosses running this town. And then it turned into an empire for oil and gas, and that's primarily what we're known for. And then we have Trona as well. Um, but Wyoming itself, the Rocky Mountains, produces like a really good percentage of California's power through the coal industry as well. So like, there's some really cool attributes about this state, as well as, there's a lot of cows, horses, deer, livestock, stuff like that.
Ranch is beautiful.
Beautiful ranches. I mean,
Capitol
Kanye
Hill,
West came out here.
Yellowstone. Yellowstone is beautiful.
Yellowstone's amazing. Man, I stayed up in the Tetons this year. I worked at a company. We were working on a roundabout. I was making 25 an hour. I was like, this is good. But we stayed at the Grand Teton National Park in a trailer or a camper out there, and just talk about peace, bro. We would drive by that place where you see all the buffaloes, like in the videos, buffaloes attacking people. Every day we'd see that, and man, it's this state's peaceful for sure. I mean, they have nationals for rodeos right 3 miles down the road, and I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands of people, but
It's a
people
lot of
rent
people.
rooms out of their houses. Every motel in the town is booked. Every hotel, all the campsites.
I think Nationals being held at Reno this year, though,
I'm not sure where it is.
or next year.
I haven't kept up on the rodeo. I'm not too much of a cowboy. I just know there's a lot of cowboy stuff that goes on around here. There's a lot of derbies, a lot of races, a lot of dirt bike races and stuff out here. And then you go out to the Flaming Gorge, and that's where a lot of life happens. That's where I learned to be more outgoing with friends and people and stuff. Was we'd have bonfires out there and go cliff diving and do some cool stuff like that. Even right here at the waterfall, there'd be some fires sometimes, or we'd go out to the spots. I guess I'm not supposed to name them because if you're not old enough yet, you can't go to the spots. And the cops know all the spots. It's a cool little town, right? All the back roads, man. If you want to spend a day doing anything in this town, you could do pretty much anything. You could get in your truck and go on the back road and spend the next 3 hours getting lost. And that's
Or you can get
a
stuck.
really cool thing. Yeah, that's a cool thing about this town, man.
It's very muddy.
I think that's like the cornerstone of this town is just how country it is. But at the same time, the people here, we're so. Is it gentrified? Are we gentrified?
I would say.
We're adapted to the lifestyle of people that live in the cities. So we're not so much just so country here in Rock Springs anymore,
Like the idealism of Wyoming and the cowboy state, it's starting to be more integrated into more of modern society, which is good because then I can see a lot more revenues and jobs open up besides oil and gas industries,
Right.
which is like the huge thing in this town and
But we're
the
already
state.
good. We've been good, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But bringing the
regardless of that.
entertainment industry here to Wyoming, or just something to do with technology jobs, you know what I mean? Because that's like
'Cause,
90%
there's a
of
lot of artists out
California.
here that are
right?
slept on for sure. It's Wyoming.
I do believe that for sure. I believe you're one of the greatest artists I've ever heard, but you're also one of my best friends, so I hear your music all the time. But it hits close to home to me. But there's a lot of good artists in this town, let alone this whole state.
Besides myself, there's many others in different parts of Wyoming, such as Cheyenne. Shout out Sino So Wavy. Shout out to Grace, and everybody out there that's hustling, making their moves, getting the shine and all that. We're getting our voice heard and speaking about things that we feel relevant.
What do you think changed the culture in this town? Do you think there was a certain group of people that kind of inspired people to start opening up and
Yeah.
making their own music?
100%.
Do you think that was DJ Records?
No, I
Or
have no idea
sorry,
about
not
that
DJ Records.
recollection.
Razor Records with Navar Mudd and James Gregg, and you know who I'm talking about. All the people back in the day when they were first starting the whole rap thing.
Mm-hmm. Sycamore.
Sycamore Treasy, Big Tone,
Mm-hmm.
YT, and then they all branched out. You know, they went from Razor Records to doing their own thing, and I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, man. I'm still in support of all of them, and and I see that they're in support of other people. I see them collabing with people from different states, and
I
I'm
got
trying to
collab
reach
with
out.
Sycamore Treasy coming soon.
Yeah, I would love to do uh, work with a lot of other artists so that I could help other artists in their collaborations as well. But over with
How do you
you,
think you would help in someone's collaborations? What would you think you could apply in that
sure.
kind of scenario?
Yeah, so you see a post on Facebook, someone says, check out my video. That's cool. You're going to scroll right past it because you're not interested, because you don't know the person well enough. But if you listen to this podcast and you hear about this person's life, what they've been through, their interests, their likes, the people that they know, and then you hear the song in the podcast, I feel like you're going to be more likely and apt and to go listen to that person and want to maybe go and do collaborations with them in the future because you feel like you know them more. You see who they are. You get to know their character. You know, I feel like I would trust somebody a little bit more if I got a glimpse of who they were rather than just knowing them through Facebook or like meeting them at a bar a few times. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It takes a long time to get to know somebody.
Yeah, I
Get
mean,
too close.
for
It
sure.
takes a real type of strength to allow weakness and just exposure to talk about some of the things as an artist, whether it be factual or, non-factual, depending on the story and the scene and what we are talking about. Sometimes, as me and an artist, I always worry about, and I shouldn't really entirely worry about it too much. Like Mac Miller said, what people interpret as far as my words go and the lyrics that I put into my songs. I mean, it's all love and it's not much hate. I'll rather, serve a purpose for the good and have it all come around. So that's what my music's more or less there for, to show a little bit of humble aspect, appreciations of the things that we always take for granted.
I like that, and I do like listening to motivating music. Um, Music to me, my friend, shout out to Chica Enwary in California. You taught me this. Inspiration, that's what music is. Music is inspiration, and inspiration comes from God. That's the most beautiful thing that I've ever heard from anybody in my life because I was trying to have a battle with him about J. Cole when I was all holier than thou, thinking that, everybody needed to be more like Christ. He was telling me, he's like, hey man, I love Christ too, but check it out. Cole can cuss, Cole can express himself in the way that he wants to because that's how he feels. That's how he feels. He's putting down how he feels on, he's laying it out. And, sometimes that's not the most Christian thing to do in our eyes, but at the same time, like, that is inspired by God Himself. You will not want to go do those types of things unless you're like inspired to do it. You're not gonna make music if you don't like to. J. Cole is not that great of an artist because he looks the way he does or because of his sound. It's the whole thing. It's what inspired him to be him is who he is, and that was like one of the biggest pivotal moments in my life when it comes to music and artistry. I started listening to more music after he told me that. I was strictly listening to only Christian rap, like NF or um, what's that? There's a bunch of them. Andy Mineo, uh, the Kingdom Music, Andy Treehue, like all those different artists. They're really great, and I finally decided to branch out after coming to Christ, and it was beautiful, man, because you get to see the way people express themselves, whether they believe or they don't believe. They have a different understanding of the way they see reality, and to see that put into works, and to to really kind of just put yourself into their shoes and kind of try to understand what they're going through in their music. That's such a beautiful thing to me, man. And that's what I love about Rock Springs artists is they're not just making stuff just because they want to get rich and famous. They're making stuff because they want to. Their hearts are bleeding and they want to pour that blood somewhere. They want everyone to feel that, and I think that's awesome. So I appreciate you with your showing me what you've showed me. There's a lot of unreleased music that you showed me and a lot of things that you were skeptical to show me, but and you did, and I was like, man, it's such a it's an amazing journey to see you go through along with all these other artists in town. Like, second biggest artist I could see in this town is Toomer right now, and he's going with it, man. And he's not making a post every 5 minutes trying to get people to go listen to his stuff. He's just making moves, man, making good music. And but think that's what it's all about. Humility, like you were saying, just taking it seriously, but not so seriously that your friends aren't your friends anymore and your family becomes your foe. Like, I don't know, man. I'm not personally doing anything as an artist myself when it comes to music. I'm writing things, but I'm not going to be releasing anything. I don't feel that inspiration like you do. You know what I mean? But
I'm always inspired. The inspiration never leaves.
and
I
that's
call
where
it
this podcast comes from for me. Is I love to dig deep into people's souls and like understand who they are, and then to show that to you guys, that's an addiction for me right now. But
See, I'm trying to like more or less tap into something more than just myself, beyond my own recognition of what this reality is. And so when I make music more into where I haven't before to now, the difference is where I feel like I'm tapping into a higher calling, a cosmic conduit, if you would want to describe it so. But like knowing that like my music isn't just for nothing and it's not for no reason. Like there's always a message behind it, subliminally or non-subliminally, and it depends on how you perceive it. But all I want from my music is to be heard and validated for those that don't feel validated for their feelings, and know that we're not always alone. We always have people. We're 4, 7, 8 billion people on this planet, continually always growing rapidly. We can just be more open-minded with all of each other and what we do with our creation. We could truly do a lot more than what we're doing now as a human race.
so, what are your thoughts on just artists in this town, artists in this state? Not even just music, uh, painting, tattoo artists, videographers. I mean, there's a lot of really cool, great people.
Well, actually, I got a question for you. So, any tattoos you have on your body, any of them have any significant meaning?
They all do.
So, there's not a tattoo on you that doesn't have no purpose or meaning with it. So, I like that. As far as artists and tattoo artists alike, and those that are canvases, such that they just get random tattoos, flash tattoo sales. And I mean, there's nothing I have wrong against that, but I do find it interesting for anyone to want to put something on their body without wanting to know why. And I mean, just within my reasoning of my tattoos, there's always a reason behind it. There's always a purpose, and that's just me conveying more than just what you see skin deep. I want to show is more. Besides this brown skin, I can put more to it than what they see, and it will define me more if they understand the way I perceive. Perception is key. And so, with one of your tattoos, which one would you say is your favorite, and what does it mean?
This one. Just a wolf. I don't know. Just Green River. Just a wolf,
Green River Wolf, alright. Yeah.
Green River wolf. Well, I love Ruxpin, so I grew up in both. The family in both. And the roses just represent my sisters. Just protecting my sisters.
Mm-hmm.
The knife just like killing off all the bad
vibes.
habits and bad. But they all mean something. Like they changed it every day, though. You know what I mean? Tattoos can change their meaning through your life, through your experience.
Yeah, I feel that. Like this, I got the stoner dots on me, and that at first that was just like a silly thing, and then like a year into it, it was like, oh, like I want to be like super Rastafarian because of Bob Marley, and then now it's like, it's not a mistake that I made in my life, but it was a journey that I went through, where I kind of experienced.
So maybe there is
cultures.
Meanings in everything as far as tattoos, from my perspective, that I didn't see. Just given that I mean, everyone has a meaning and purpose. So whenever they get a tattoo, that might be just a little piece of what they're trying to express and display.
That's from a fire, huh? Piece of glass.
Yeah.
That's cool. Petrified glass.
So far as like these new young up and coming artists that I've been tapping in recently, Green River and Rock Springs, both areas, what would be a message you would like to give to the younger kids out there as far as chasing their dreams and this passion of music? And
don't chase anything, just manifest it.
Don't chase anything, just manifest it.
Mm-hmm.
Elaborate a little bit more on just what you think a manifestation is.
Just don't put too much energy on don't put too much energy on what you're already doing. If you're already doing something, you want to do it, can just do it. You don't have to chase it, because then you forget about your friends and your family. And you know what I mean. You get caught up in being successful instead of being caught up in
Yeah.
living your dream and enjoying what you're doing. You know,
I see that point of view.
your
It's
dream should
valid.
be your passion, not a job. You know, not
True.
something you have to chase and stress over. It shouldn't. You know.
But I mean, that's almost everyday work in a sense too. I mean,
So
if
make
you
it
can find a job that you love, then is it really working?
Right.
No, it's just doing something you love, and then if you get paid for it, it's a bonus. Cool. You can
Make it a
survive
part of your
off
life, but don't make it your life.
Yeah, exactly. There's many facets of your life. You know what I mean? Like personal life, your love life, your work life, and they all
Definitely.
have to be balanced, or else you're gonna be, you're
Yeah.
gonna compensate in another area. For,
You
you know?
either be accessible or you're not accessible, and that's depending on where you put your time. Time management is for sure what has been a problem of mine.
Time management sucks. And you know what's worse than that is like, I wouldn't say mental illnesses, but like ADHD and ADD and post-traumatic stress disorder and OCD and things like that. Man, that can really mess with somebody's success. You know what I mean? Because you're stagnant and you don't want to. I mean, I guess there's so many different ways to express all of those different illnesses, but it's just a barrier and a blockade from seeing everything how it actually should be and how you could go about doing the things that you want to do so that you could be as successful as you want to be. There's always some sort of blockade, and so that's something I've seen people and myself personally
And
deal with and experience.
I'm gonna interject with an opinion, but like with that kind of falling base on that, I do believe that people can actually also not let a disorder control them in a sense when they get diagnosed, however they are, whatever their life is, mental issues or not. That whatever their disorder is, that be like that's not going to dictate their growth or personal success, because we can grow from trial and error. And so, like, don't let just one disorder be the reason why you use it as an excuse to not do better with your life. Always know that there's more for you than just what's given to you by word.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's always room for growth. I think that
You got to believe in
there's
yourself.
challenges in that. So say you're bipolar, right? And you say you're very inspired to do something for the first 6 months and you're doing great at it, and then out of nowhere, boom, life's just not where you want it to be, need it to be, and it can't be that way, so you give up. And then you
That's where I like a cowboy
come back to that
perspective,
attitude
because they
again
get on
later.
that bull and they ride it. You know, they don't fucking think too much about it. They get it and do it, and then they can rest afterwards. Like, this state has some pretty decent men out here that, despite the cowboy facade and identity, there are actually some really good folks out here that have
Oh,
a
for
good
sure.
mindset.
Yep.
And they're out here helping the community, and I do like to shout them out as well, that you are seen and heard, and your opinion is also valid.
Right. Shoot. Cowboys are the first people to get famous in this town.
Yeah. Country music is literally Wyoming, and it's like its most huge, fundamental, supportive type of genre in this state. I don't really see, as far as hip hop or rap or any of that, being anything very highly gloated or, you know, appreciated in the sense of what country music is appreciated out here in this type of demographic.
And it is evolving, but I think you're right. I don't think that it's ever going to be quite like if you were in the inner cities or something like
Right.
that. But I mean,
It doesn't need to be though. You know?
It doesn't either.
right? You can go.
You need
That's
to
just
keep
being
it-
that's just
we
being
need to
closed minded.
The
Really.
Wyoming spirit needs to stay, or else we're gonna,
Right.
the
Yeah.
last frontier. So
I mean, in Rock Springs, it's unique. I feel as though it's unique. Out of any town I've been to, it's got its own spirit. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
For sure. I mean, and to express Rock Springs to people, that's somewhere where I've been that like a blockade, because there's so much, man.
For it
There's
being a
so
small
much.
town, you'd be surprised.
Right. I mean, you could express Salt Lake as a shopping center with a lot of LDS members that live there in that state, in that area, in that town. Rock Springs, you have all that. You have 60 some nationalities. You have, I mean, everything I've listed already. And then just all these different cultures mixing together.
Do you think they
changes
started to say
everything.
home of 56 nationalities after the Chinese massacre or before?
I think that was a way to bring peace. Let people know, hey man, we're not like
We're not perfect,
We're
and that
not-
was a
yeah.
bad part of our history. And
we're not doing that
we're
anymore.
gonna be more open-minded and let.
Wonder what happened to all of them. Jesse James came through here too, didn't he?
Something like that.
Bunch of wild, crazy stuff. I guess it doesn't matter what happened to them because there was slave owners at the same
matters
time that were
into some
doing
perspective.
stupid stuff.
To a degree, at least. I mean, you gotta think of their
History's
heritage.
important. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, sometimes, like, are a lot of the really wealthy people in this town the ones that were causing all the problems back then? You know what I mean? And it's not their fault if they inherited that money and they do something good with it. That's like a lot of places in this world. There's a lot of blood money that could either be used for good or bad when
And
it's
it's
passed
only
down.
used for good, but it sometimes I feel bad for those that are in that kind of predicament to have all that kind of wealth to be then now only judged by the others that aren't as fortunate as them, and then saying they're not spending it right or they're doing this and that. Like, that's just a hard one to say because, you know, if you're that well off, whose opinion should it matter to you how you spend it, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean that's
So it's just like where it comes down to the category of rich versus poor. Like, some of the fundamentalist type of opinions kind of clash together on like what is that's the barricade between the two, and you have the middle class that identifies kind of the struggles and, you know, positives of both. So you like perspective of like saying you got the District 9, all these other areas, low income, and then you have like a different area, gated community. Like, you can see the different perspectives of people's attitudes, people's way of thinking, and the mentality in general, really. And it's interesting. I like to say, when I was in Florida, the people I met out there, and the struggles, the areas that weren't so oftenly very safe, we'll say, very crime infested, and just had a lot of struggles. I would say those people had a lot more of wisdom that gave to me than those that actually were more fortunate, in a sense that was more wholesome in soul.
so. Do you think that the concrete jungle will mature you a lot quicker than being indoors reading books?
Oh, of course. And that's crazy for me to even want to say that as an opinion of mine, to just openly say that so vividly and passionately. But yes, I do say to an extent that the city life and the country life comes to two parallel universes in a way where living can be completely different, and you have to adjust going to either one.
It was difficult for me to adjust back to living here after living in Los Angeles, after living in Simi Valley. Um, I didn't feel as complete, to be honest. For a very long time, I felt like I was missing out on a lot of stuff. Because, man, I'd go to work, I'd work my 6 days, I'd go to school, and then I'd catch up with all the homies. We'd go down to the ocean, we'd go get tacos at a restaurant, and then we'd hang out and have a party. And then we'd go back and, honestly, we'd go worship Jesus and have, like, Bible studies and just do cool stuff. It was a really great experience, but there was so many people that I could just call on and be like, hey, man, do you want to hang out? And that's something you don't really necessarily have here in Rock Springs. There is a big group of people here, but for me personally, people are very selective on who they pick to hang out with around here. And I do have a good group of friends. I have a big selection of friends around here, but us being so busy, it's not as vast. So, say I have 100 friends here in Rock Springs. We all work jobs. I have 100 friends in California, in Los Angeles. They all have different times off, different times to do things. Here in Rock Springs, it's like you have a select few amount of jobs that you can work. So everybody's got a certain work schedule at a certain time. It's different in different parts of the country, man, and it's weird. I had such a blast in California when I was homeless and when I had a good job. Um, Man, I was going to recording studios. I was meeting homeless people and praying with them and feeding homeless people and
Have you ever been homeless?
just great stuff, man.
How was that experience for you?
I mean, it was what it was. I got through it. I didn't really see like too much into it. Like,
You didn't feel homeless, huh?
no.
No. I think it takes years for that to
That's
kick in.
almost a pretty interesting skill to have. I don't feel like a lot of people can have or
It's-
tap into that kind
Because I
of
know
way
that
of
I'm gonna
thinking.
be taken care of.
You have to. It's fight or flight. You're done. If you give up, you're done.
That's it. Yeah.
You're done. Find shelter right now or tonight you're fucking cold. Okay, next day you still have your shelter from the day before. What are you gonna do today now? Okay, you're gonna adapt. You're gonna go meet some people or go find some water, find
I mean,
something to eat.
as long as those occurrences that happen to you, as long as they humble you and you can grow from it, that's all I could say anyone should be able to receive from any struggle, is to be able to
If I'm speaking,
benefit off of it somehow.
if I could be the spokesperson for humanity, one thing I would require is if a person has over $1 million, they leave their life for a month. They're given enough selective things to survive for that month. They don't have a house, they don't have any luxury items, no money, no food, or they have food, but they have to cook it and they have to actually survive. They won't die, but they have to spend a month
That'll
away
change
from
their
food
whole
or
mentality of
family,
life.
away from all the money, and then they could go back to that. You
It's
know
like
why I
that one
want
show
that?
called Alone.
Humanity would be fixed after that. Completely, 100%. It'd be Nebuchadnezzar, but times a million. King Nebuchadnezzar was a very selfish, egotistical king that wanted everybody to worship him, and God humbled him by turning him into a beast and walking the lands until he was humbled enough to become king again. And I think that's what humanity awaits for.
Yeah, we're on a time frame of life where at this time and timeline, it's scary.
It is, man. But at the same time, like you have been saying, and like you've been saying, it's just being here right now, and then letting manifestation take its place and do its thing. It's really all we could do. If we
Now,
focus too much on the negative, then you can't really help negative.
you can learn from it though.
Sure. I've learned that you can do all the bad things in the world,
With that kind of mindset.
but you're still gonna have to pay the consequences for every bad thing that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's for sure.
And when you're doing positive stuff and everything you let out in the world, it comes back one way or another full circle.
Right.
Rather than it being a having to serve time, slam or anything like that. Like doing something more in a positive reinforcement way will come back in tenfold compared to doing something in a negative impact.
I do like to believe that. Sometimes I don't believe that's true.
It's hard because it's time's weird and how it does its thing and gives us those kind of blessings.
It's about consistency too. Like
Right.
Consistency for sure.
if you do something positive, you're not gonna automatically get that shit back.
No.
No.
You have to be consistent about it, build up that.
And I believe that God shows us signs on what He wants us to do, and if we don't do that, then sometimes I feel like that's why we don't get blessed with what we're supposed to get blessed with. Is, hey man, there's a homeless dude right there. You got $7 in your pocket. You want to buy a pack of smokes right now, but he needs it more than you do. Go give it to him. And you don't
Mhm.
do it, you failed that day.
See, I'd rather see. Here's my point of view on that situation. I would rather have instead of giving him a pack of cigarettes, food.
Well, no,
I
I'm
know
saying I
to a
wanted a pack of
point.
cigarettes with that $7, so I don't want to give him that $7.
Oh, okay, I see. All right.
But I know he needs it more than I do.
Yeah, and I'd definitely give him food.
Exactly right. But like we fail at that.
You would
so many
hope to
times.
at least that what he gives, or if you're giving him money, like you never know if someone's really truly homeless or not. You know, what if they're just that kind of person that uses off of people who are more fortunate because they just rather lazy and just see it as a succubus way.
My mom taught me not to do this, but I do it anyways. When I give money to a homeless person, I try to make it a point to sit there and talk with them about what's happening in their life and where they're going, and then pray with them before I give them money.
That's interesting.
I do. I'm like, where are you from? Where are you going?
I'm pretty sure they.
Are you into drugs?
I
Are
wonder
you
how many
drinking?
times they experience that. How often, you know.
Probably a lot. Probably a lot. Honestly, there's a lot of God soldiers.
Like what
out
kind of
there.
religions do they get on the basis of like what's more like? Oh,
Okay,
I've seen
yeah.
like 8 Mormons come and try to teach me some Jesus, and then I had like 2 Christians trying to teach me some stuff, and then
You'd be
know,
surprised with how many homeless Christians there are. You really would. Because there's a
Is that
part.
by choice or
Yeah,
is that by?
it is. There's a part in the Bible where it says, "Give everything away and follow me." And some people took that quite literally. Some people took that very literally. There's
Shit.
families in California that have been homeless for 17 years because they gave up everything to follow Christ. And their version of following Christ is just staying out of the world's way and trying to have a good relationship with God Himself and blessing people when they see them.
Mm.
A homeless man blessing another
The other time.
person.
I don't know if that's right.
Almost noon. Does that sound right?
No,
No.
It's,
No,
yeah,
no.
it's
Probably almost
closer to
2.
1. Yeah, 2.
No, it's pretty
Or
close
almost
to
3.
Yeah, and I gotta head out.
Okay, we'll close up with
A couple more topics.
a couple more topics. I wanted to talk about something other than Rock Springs.
I got
Other than
something for you.
artistry. Yeah.
Let's just talk about. Let's go into more supernatural shit.
Oh.
Yeah, I've seen and
I was
experienced
actually
some
wanting to ask
spooky
you-
ass shit out here.
I was wanting to ask you if you've experienced anything otherworldly or had any sort of interaction with any entities or
Mm-mm.
anything.
Mm-mm.
Ever like, okay, that's it. This is what life's about. Like because something exposed that to you or no?
I could say I have. I've had an experience in, to be exact, Vernal, Utah, Uinta Basin. And this was when I was in high school. I got invited to go to Vernal's dance, but I wasn't attending their school. I was in Manila, Utah. And they had invited me and my twin sister, so we went out there for the weekend to go and have a dance. And I didn't even know it was supposed to be semi-formal, so when I got there, I didn't have not really any clothes that were relatively of that. So they didn't let me in, so I was kind of like, whatever. During that night, as we're waiting for all our friends to go there, we ended up seeing something as we're waiting for our friend to get out the house, and there's like 5 of us in a circle just talking and chopping it up, waiting for her to get outside. And next thing you know, I see from the corner of my eye. I didn't know they seen it, but I mean, just from the corner of my eye, I see lights and some type of like craft, and it's just like glowing. But within that split second of noticing the colors that was just emanating above this tree and above this house, just that second of noticing it, just gone. And then as soon as it did that, every one of us reacted almost the same way. So I knew it wasn't just me that seen it. They seen what I possibly seen too, but they didn't get to see exactly what to make out of it. But we're like, was that a UFO or?
So a lot of people seen it in like peripheral,
Yes,
and then they were like, "Oh, there was something."
something
there.
over there that like launched. It was glowing, then it just gone.
I haven't experienced that.
Utah, right next to Skinwalker Ranch, Uinta Basin. You already know a lot of activity out there.
I've watched a lot of footage, and I'm sure you guys have too. But damn it, I've never seen nothing look real. Not a damn thing where I'm like, man, that looks like a real alien, or man, that looks like a real UFO.
Well,
But I've heard
You can call me
stories.
crazy.
I'm not calling you crazy. I'm
But it's
I'm not
just-
calling
I
the
got my
people
other folks,
crazy
too.
on TV either. I do think this though. I do think that the CIA and the FBI is releasing stuff that's not real just to calm us down from what is actually real. But I don't know if there's anything evil in this world or any aliens in this world. But if there are aliens in this world, I would be led to believe that they are evil.
I'd hope they'd be good, actually.
Why would you think that they would be good?
Because obviously, if they have the technology to come to here and they're that advanced, they're here to show us something maybe that we're missing out on. Obviously, they're that advanced to get to that point.
There's nothing wrong with what we've been doing, as long as collaborate, as long as everything's peaceful,
As long as there's
as long as
peace.
there's coexistence, and we're fine. As long as everything is taken care of from top to bottom, then that's all that matters.
The planet Earth is in jeopardy, and I'm pretty sure everywhere in the universe, if there is life that exists outside this, universe, we'll say, of all complexities as it is, what would make it beneficial for all their sense of life and war? And I mean, I'd only assume maybe if there is life out there that there's peace and unity, but
Let me ask you this. If aliens were good and they were that advanced, why haven't they helped us to repair our
I'm
Earth?
actually pretty sure they have, and that's why it's classified. We
You
would
think
have
that
already.
the Earth is repaired because of this?
World War III, we should have already been done, nuked each other already, all of us. And yet, some of those codes, if you looked into the research and history of these codes, no one had clearance to move these codes and completely use some of these are, we'll say, example, during the Roswell, Mexico, when they had
Roswell?
experienced, Roswell. So during that time, they had a bunch of stuff going on politically, and they had a bunch of their nuke areas, not just United States too. Accordingly and reported, Russia and then China too. Their nuclear launch codes were hacked into, and it's, as far as human possible without clearance, not possible. And then beforehand, as far as those codes went missing, they had a lot of UFO phenomenal going on, like
Right.
some type of stuff that they couldn't explain that's being still classified.
So I've watched a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, and he probably covers the best of UFO researchers and developers of stories that have
we
been
have UAPs
declassified.
now, unidentified alien.
Right. So what I've gathered from everything I've seen is there's probably most definitely aliens on this earth. The question is, how long have they been here, and
What do they want?
what do they want,
And why do they think that they can fuck with us?
and
If
why
that is the
and
case,
why is there races
is
of
it-
aliens that are blending in to look like human beings? Like, why would you want to do that as an alien?
Yeah, who knows?
That's to take over, right?
Who knows if
I
these
mean,
aliens might
Yes.
not even be
Or to
considered
get some kind of. They need something. They need something.
Or their
materialistic.
planet was destroyed.
But think about it though. What if aliens is a simple misguided terminology of saying angels? And that's where we have had the
Fallen
Bible.
angels.
No, if they are, then they need to. then
Because
we
the
need
angels
help.
are in the heavens have never left the
If
heavens.
they are, then we need help.
But if they
That's as
fell,
simple as that.
I guess the angels do come and fight our battles with us against the demons. So I don't know if it's possible for them to be angels, but
it's definitely a curiosity of mine.
angel armies would come, and I mean, they would come when you act. I mean, they're right
Sorry,
here
you
with us
constricted,
right
yeah.
now. That's why I
got
don't
my
know if they
guardian
are.
angel.
I do believe that dude. I've been rolled in a car before, and I've seen just things just holding me from getting hit at the top of the car when it's rolling, and my head didn't hit, and there was blood all over the airbag, but my face had no blood on it, and my arms were fine, and there was no blood anywhere. There were angels that carried me through that, and I'm like, so angels are real. So what are aliens? Aliens,
Humans.
they say that there's the gray aliens, the little gray aliens, are like a hybrid of the actual alien itself that looks similar to the gray but taller and lighter in color. But they say that those aliens that aren't the hybrids, like, have been on Earth telling us about themselves for forever, and we now know how to fly their saucers. We've redeveloped stuff in Russia. Um, Tesla took some of the research from the aliens. Like, are they really here to help us? Is my like I know you guys say yes, but like, are they? Because we would have free technology, we would have free
Right.
medical, we would have free
Or
everything.
they're here to observe, to understand what humans are really about.
I've heard there is observer races of aliens that don't do anything. They're called Watchers, and they're also in the Marvel Avengers shows and stuff like that. They're called Watchers. They sit here and they just gather information about humanity. But then there's other
Because
races.
God created us, and so He's wanting to know, obviously.
Do you think God needs angels to watch after us? I think God sees us right now.
I think He made the angels in perfection to kind of show how and what they're missing on, and gave humans existence to show angels why they should be more appreciative of their existence in this universe, maybe.
That's why Lucifer fell from heaven, from
'Cause he's
what
jealous.
I've heard,
He was
because he was
jealous,
jealous
yes.
of humanity. He wanted to be better than
Jealousy is one of the
God.
hugest things that I feel like is the most corrupting emotion that just will deter, destroy, self-destruct relationships, jobs, your way of life, your manifestation, your mentality. Like, you gotta not find your way to be jealous of anyone else, and just know that you're doing it for you.
Right. Yeah, so on the subject of supernatural, I guess that the biggest point with that is
You and God.
not if it's important, not if it's real, but what the importance of it is. Why do we care that aliens are here? And how does that help or hurt us? And I guess I think you hit it right on the head, right on the nail. Like, if they're here to observe, then they're understanding what not to be like, because I don't think humanity's doing it right. I really don't. And I think that if
We
they're
could be
here
doing
to
it better,
help,
that's for damn sure.
I think if they're here to help, they should probably start doing something pretty fucking soon, because
But then again,
Russia's
who would
probably gonna
want to
take
help
over the
somebody
world.
that doesn't want to be helped? In a sense of us humans, when we're having a whole battle of the hierarchy of rich versus poor, middle class, and you just can't find the way out of this whole, like, are we fighting each other, or is there a reason to be,
Think about this. When Jesus was around, there was a big uproar, and there was wars going on, right, with the Roman soldiers and whatnot. So there was wars going on at that time, and they needed a savior to come and conquer all those lands and to bring them to peace. But instead, Christ didn't do that. He died on the cross for our sins. The
That's
point
what
of me
this planet is
saying that-
known for, bro.
The point of me saying that is we're at war right now. We're going through the same stuff that we've been going through since the beginning of time. And to get through it, that relationship with Christ is needed, I think.
Mm. Yeah, we gotta cut it short. Like we got more money and bread to make.
It's a wrap. Thanks for meeting with us.
Shout out Billy.